How's everyone doing today? Good. All right, so as you said, I'll be talking to you about user adoption, the different factors of user adoption, things you need to look out for when you want to increase user adoption, and then different tools that are available to monitor users as they use your system. And then also we're going to talk about Thrive, which is PM Square's tool that we developed to help you monitor how users adapt to your system. So, yeah, I'm Eric Dolly. I'm the main developer of Thrive. So if you have any questions, ask me because I'll know them. So, all right, so overview. First, we're going to go over the importance of user adoption, why you want to keep users engaged in your system. We're going to go over current solutions that exist, such as the default Cognos reports that some of you may have used or tried to use in the past. Give an overview of Thrive, what Thrive is, kind of like the goal of Thrive. We're going to go over some of the key features of Thrive for what we're going for. Then we're going to talk about some of the advanced functionality, such as the advanced JavaScript and HTML we included into the suite of reports in order to make things load faster and to make the user experience much better. And then we'll get into the bread and butter of the presentation, which is the actual demonstration of Thrive, where I'll just take you through all the different parts of Thrive so you can see what all the features you'll be able to see. Then afterwards, we'll go through some key users of who we think might be interested in the Thrive product. And then we'll finish off with a summary and conclusion. So what is user adoption? Why is it important? So as you all know, Cognos is a very powerful tool. Obviously, if you're at Bacon, you think so, and you use it quite frequently in your organizations. So, but if you have Cognos in your organization, a very powerful tool that you know is a very powerful tool, but you don't have any method of knowing who's using it, knowing how they're using it, knowing what problems they're running into, then that will give you problems because you want to really increase user adoption. All right, yeah, to use Cognos to its maximum potential, well, yeah, it's important to track how Cognos is being used, who's using it, and how often, and what content is being used the most. So basically, to boil it down just to two questions. To increase your user adoption, there are two questions you need to ask yourself. Are people using your system? All right. And are new users, is it easy for them to use your system? Is it easy for them to adopt to your system? So if those two answers are yes, then you probably have decent user adoption. If your answers are no, or you don't have any method of finding out how people are using your system, then you might want to do something about users adopting your system. All right, so why is it important? Why do we need to monitor, maintain, and understand user adoption? Yeah, know who's using your system, how often people are using it, know how many users you have, and that also ties into something that I think is pretty important, which is licensing compliance. If you say you have 20 users in your system and you have 10 licenses and you have no way of tracking that, that could cause issues. Or on the other end, say you have 20 licenses and you're looking at your system and you have 10 users. You're wasting resources on that could be used towards other business development. So with good user adoption and good user adoption monitoring tools, you'll be able to identify any roadblocks that users are experiencing that are keeping them from entering your system and using your system and getting the most potential value out of your system. And this is a pretty important one as well. During budgeting, if you have good user adoption and you have good monitoring tools of your system to see how people are using it and adopting it, during budgeting, you'll be able to show exactly how Cognos is being used. So has anyone ever maybe got to the edge of the budgeting cycle at the end of the year and you've been asked to report on how many people are using Cognos or how many times was Cognos run or how many users do you have? Has anyone ever run into that situation? Yeah. So when that came up, what was your solution? What did you have to do? All right, did you have to give someone a week and a half, 2 weeks to look at the audit database, try to create the reports for themselves, try to figure out what all the different parts of the audit database mean? What is an unsaved report? What is a report that begins with res underscore? Is that a real run? Is someone actually doing that? There are all these complicated things that go into what is an actual instance of someone using the system. So at the end of the year, someone asks you how your system is being used. Like they want some numbers. Be like, so are people actually using Cognos? We just bought Cognos. We've been using Cognos for 10 years. Is someone actually using Cognos? Like you need like something more advanced to be able, like something easily to be able to tell them that. Because otherwise, at the end of the year, it'll be possibly 2 weeks of work to maybe potentially not even get the correct number. All right. And once you have good user adoption, it allows you to focus on analytics and reporting. Because if you're not worried about, if you do the steps to get user adoption up, then like that's taking care of errors. That's like tracking how users are trending up and down. If you take care of that, then you're not worrying about that stuff anymore. That's taken care of. You have a system for taking care of that. Instead, you're focusing on things that actually matter. You know what reports matter. You know who are your power users. So you can focus on that. And overall, having good user adoption just gives you more control of your environment. Just in the big picture, like if you know what's happening, you have users who know how they're using the system. If a user is using the system and they don't know what's going on, you can identify that. It's just, overall, you just have more tools at your disposal and you're able to tell what's happening inside your environment. And here's another big one. So all those points kind of tie into this. Maximize return on investment. So you've invested into the system, you invested into Cognos, you probably have a number of licenses, and you don't, like if you're not tracking how the system's being utilized, then you're possibly wasting resources. So if you're tracking how your system's being used, if there's reports that are underutilized or like maybe not utilized at all, you can retire them, move your efforts elsewhere. You don't have to worry about maintaining them. Like so if you're in Cognos 10, say you're in Cognos 10, right? And you have all these reports, you have 500 reports, but you don't know which ones people actually use, right? What about when it comes time to go up to Cognos 11? Are you going to spend who knows how much time and resources upgrading who knows how 10 reports to 200 reports to Cognos 11 that haven't been used in 3 years? So you need to be able to see which reports are being used, like what is active in your system. Same with inactive users. Someone hasn't been used an active user for a while, you can remove them from the system or stop tracking them. And licensing can be ensured to ensure compliance measures are met. All right, how to increase user adoption. So obviously, train new users on the system. All right, in order to do this, you need to know who's using the system and who is not using the system. So, and you need to be able to trade if a new user comes on and they're not utilizing it properly. You need to identify, this is a very large one, identify users who are dropping off. So say you have a user who in the previous month, they ran 500 reports, they ran 200 reports, they ran a lot of reports, and this month they perhaps ran 30. Something may be going on. Maybe they're running into errors, maybe they're having problems, maybe they've found another tool that they're using, all right? They downloaded some BI tool off the internet and they don't know, and they're not using it as part of your system. You need to find out why that user dropped off and maybe talk to them and see what's going on and see how you can help them. And that ties into tracking errors. Maybe that user dropped off because they've been running into errors. So you need to be able to see what errors are coming up for users. And if a user is running a report and 50% of the time it fails, it's an important report to them, they're going to lose faith in the system. So they need faith in the system to be able to know that what they're doing is important. Know that their use is proper. Yeah, identify problems and fix them before they get out of control. So when users run into constant problems and delays, they just stop using the system. They'll find something else. Maybe they'll go back to using Excel. And overall, build faith in the system. So you increase user adoption by showing the users that it's a system they want to use, that when things do come up, that they think the problems do come up, that it's resolved for them. All right, so now I'm going to show off some of the default audit reports that come with Cognos. So does anyone in the room ever know about the default Cognos reports or used them in the past? Yeah. Okay. Did you find them incredibly useful or difficult, or overall so-so, or? Well, I'm going to show off some of the default reports and show off some of the problems that we believe there may be with them that we have identified to fix. All right. So this is the default sample reports I'm going to show you. So, all right, click on it to run. All right. Now, mind you, the resolution is pretty low on this screen, so you'll be able to see a little bit more real estate. But all right, so say you have a question about a user session summary. All right, so just looking at it, you think, all right, it'll give me information about the user session, what they've been doing. So let's just go to Eric Dolly. All right, see what he's been doing. All right, let's just pick a date. All right, user session summary. Eric Dolly, 7 sessions, 1 hour, 27 minutes average duration. All right, what else do I do with that? All right, so I obviously was looking, so a user's having a problem, or they've contacted me, or I've noticed something, and I just looked for information about the user, and what did I get? One thing. All right, so a lot of the default tools for this, they're not good for exploring what's happening. So these tools, maybe they're useful if you already know exactly what you're looking for. You want the exact metrics of how long my average duration of login was, but you can't just go in and be like, all right, what's happening with Eric? You know, has he been running into errors? There's the default reports don't really have that functionality. They're not like an interconnected suite of tools, all right, for discovery about your system. And I believe that after you see Thrive, you'll see that Thrive is an interconnected suite of reports, and that really, when building Thrive, that's one of our driving factors, that you're able to have an overview of the system, all right? And then also be able to see those details instead of just having a bunch of information that you just don't know what to do with. All right. All right. So a little bit more details about Thrive. So Thrive is an official IBM solution. So if you go to the IBM solution website, which I will link at the end of this presentation, you'll be able to see an official write-up about it, and it's in their official solution package. So yeah, we basically created Thrive in order to enable users to get an overall view of their environment and to help keep track of their user adoption. So key features. Track what users are doing in your environment, what reports and packages they are using. See the usage trend of each user. So month to month, if they go up or down, you're able to tell. Someone drops off, you're able to see that, and you're able to see what's going on. If someone all of a sudden starts using it a bunch, maybe you're able to give them some support to let them, if they need more, if they're running a bunch of reports, obviously they like the system, maybe you can show them even more about it. Monitor the top and bottom ranking reports, as we went over earlier. Understand why reports are used more or less frequently. And one major way to do that is to keep track of errors. So if something's erroring half the time, people are going to stop using it, it's going to drop off. And you need to see that error rate. Yep. Okay, so here's some of the functionality. We may be a little low on time here. No, we've still got a bit. So some of the advanced functionality. As I mentioned earlier, it uses advanced HTML and JavaScript. So what the JavaScript does is, this is kind of an overview of the system. So you have the main suite of reports, and then here's the JavaScript code. So anytime you see, the run overview, view overview, user adoption dashboard, user report search, anytime you see an item of a user, a report, a package, or a user, you can click on that. It'll run the JavaScript code and bring up an advanced detail window. So one of the advantages of doing it with this method is that if you're on the overview page and you see a user you want more information about, the report doesn't have to reload. All right, it opens up in a new window, so it loads only the new information there. So you get to see that new information, and then when you exit off, it's not like you're hitting back or you're reprompting the report and it has to reload. We did this mainly because we wanted things to be very quick for the user. Maybe 5 seconds to reload the reports, not that much, but over time that adds lagginess to the system, which is what you don't want. All right, so now it's time for the demo. All right, start her up. One thing you notice is it loads pretty quickly. One thing, keep in mind that this is a very low resolution screen, so things might be a little crowded and a little zoomed in, but overall I think you'll be able to get the picture. So the driving idea behind Thrive was have a quick overview of the system. You don't need to know exactly what you're looking for, and everything is interconnected. So just to start off, you've got the run overview, view overview, user adoption dashboard, user report search. I'll go over each page in order. So one point we mentioned was that say you want an overview of your system, it comes at the end of the year, you want to see how things have been used. So just the very first thing you see, you can see overall last 12 months, run count. All right, in the past year, 4,893 times, login count, 1,530. Then you also see the last 30 days. So you can see how things are going recently in the last 12 months. All right. So here's the main body of the Thrive report, the run overview. It just gives you an overview of like everything's been running. So you have on the left side here, you've got packages, reports, and users. All right. And then you also have over the top 10 the last 12 months, top 10 the last 30 days. So, all right. So notice here, any of these items. So top 10, last 30 days. We can, anywhere in the entire report, not this page, but every other page, if you see something you want to see more information about, you just need to click on it. So let's see top 10 audit information, top 10, let's see, packages, audit, everything about the audit package from the past 12 months. And there you go. That loaded pretty quick. That's partially because of the JavaScript code we used. So there we go, last 12 months. Who are the top users? Eric Dolly, 3,963 runs. I think it's become clear that I've been using this system a little bit more than my coworkers, considering the next highest person in total runs is 52. So let's see. You can see the top users for the past 12 months. You can see top report runs. So what are the most popular reports in the system? And since this is the system I use to develop Thrive, obviously the most popular reports are the Thrive reports. It just makes sense. And then top report views for audit. I'll go into more detail about views and how a view is different from a run later on in the presentation. So this is the more detail pop-up window. But let's say you want to see more. All right, so you saw audit last 12 months. Now you want to see, so you saw something else you want to see. So all right, Eric's the top user. Let's see what Eric's been doing. There we go. Sometimes digging through a year's worth of data can take a while, but that's just the nature of the beast. So total run count, 3,964. Total view count, 198. User run failure percentage. So I've only run into failures about 2% of the time. That's not too bad. Last login, today. 12 months, report runs. Report views. You can just see the different type of things that have been running. And if you notice, report execution type. So there are two types, interactive, which is just, you just running it, the user runs it themselves, and batch. One thing you'll notice that sometimes users will just set things to run on batch, and then they'll just run forever. Maybe it's reportedly running that's not being used, and it's being run every night. So you'll be able to see that like something's been run a lot, and then over the past year or past 30 days. And then we could explore further. So if I wanted to see more details about any of the reports, just click on it. And then it'll load the next detail for the past year. There we go. And you can see all the different details about that report, who's been running it the most. All right. And that's true for the past 12 months or the past 30 days. So if instead you wanted to see information for the past 30 days, just click on the past 30 days. And there you go. You see the same information, but it's filtered for 30 days. And then you can also drill through again on the pop-up window. Actually, click that. Yeah. You can drill through again on the pop-up window, and that'll come up. All right. Hold on. Sorry about that. My computer's just being a little slow. So that's some of the drill-through details for the run overview. But but there's also, I think this is a pretty important case right here. Top 10 failures last 30 days. So you can see what reports have been failing recently. So let's just do like a little bit. Let's just do a little bit like a little use case here. Like, all right, I'm an admin. I just come in to see what's going on. So all right, top 10 failures. Let's see. In the employee expense data, there's been 4 failures. In this employee expense prompted report crosstab, 4 failures, and then Ryan Dolly, 4 failures. Let's see what's going on here. No. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I'm going off my phone Wi-Fi, so it actually is a little slower than it usually is. If you're on a not inside a conference building phone connection, then it goes much quicker. Okay, so now we're looking at Ryan Dolly's last 30 days report. User run failure percentage, 44%. So he's running into a lot of failures. And then let's see what's going on. Let's see what reports he's running. Let's see, he's running employee expense prompted report crosstab, employee expense prompted report crosstab burst. And employee expense prompted report crosstab burst is failing 100% of the time. So he just set up a batch report who knows how long ago, and it's just running all the time and failing. If you want to see more details about that burst report, you can just go in there and look at it. And you can see that he's the only one who's running it. He's running it in batch. So he set up the job a long time ago, and it's just failing consistently. So you're able to go in and see who's running what, identify why things are failing, and find the users behind them, and find the errors behind them, as I'll show you another part of the presentation. All right. So that's the Run Overview tab. We also have the View Overview tab. So the difference between a run and a view in the system, we decided to separate these because different organizations may utilize their system differently. A run is any time a user runs the report or it's run in batch. A view is when it is saved, is run in batch and saved by the system and then viewed by multiple people. So if someone runs it once overnight and then 100 people look at that report, that's a view. So that's capturing that view count. So that's a distinction that exists in the audit package, and a distinction that may be important for different organizations. And all the details are the same for the view overview and the run overview. Oh. Actually, one more thing I want to show you about the run overview before I move on to the user adoption dashboard is, all right, so this shows you the top 10. Say you want to see more than the top 10. You can just click more. It'll bring up a window, and well, it would show you more than the top 10 if we had more than 10 packages, but and then from that window, you can just go in and see any of the details you would want to see, same as if you did it on the top 10. All right. So this is the user adoption dashboard. This is what we use to keep track of the activity of users, the logins of users, and the trend of users over time. So over here you see the last login. So all this does is just gives you a list of your users and the last time they logged in. All right. So we can see that I logged in today, and then Dustin logged in 2 days ago, and then you can see how long it's been since a user logged in. So maybe Paul left the company, so maybe we want to remove him from the system. So the last login dashboard also has these thresholds that you can set to customize. So to give you a different red alert or yellow alert. So let's see, by default it's set at 720. So if it's greater than 7 days, it'll be a red alert, so they haven't logged in a week. If it's greater than 20 days, it'll be a red alert. So let's just change some of the numbers. Let's, but we make this 20 days since our system isn't very utilized, so just for example purposes, let's change some of these numbers. Let's make the red threshold 100. All right, let's refresh that. It reprompts the system, and you see that now it's just showing us the different alerts for the different users. And then say, all right, so you have users who haven't logged in 200 days. You don't even want to factor them in. You just want to see what's been going on recently. So min days between, max days between, you can change that with same method. Just refresh, reloads the page. There you go. Reloads very quickly, doesn't take very much time at all. All right. And there we go. Now it's just filtered into the time frame that we're interested in. So then over here we have the activity trend. What this does is it shows you the trend of the users from the last 30 days to the 30 days before that. So we can see that in our system, usage has gone down greatly. So something may have happened. So we might want to look into that. And we can see that some users may have just dropped down 100%. If there are users who are increasing in usage trend, it will just show a up arrow and the percent that they've increased. So it'll filter from the very top will be the users with the most percent increase, and the bottom will be the users with the most percent decrease. And then we also have the new activity. So what that does is that keeps track of when there is new activity to the system. So when someone hasn't logged in, when someone has logged in the last 30 days, run something in the past 30 days, and they've never run something in any previous period of time, it'll show in the new activity. So if you've got a new user, you can see it will show like how many times they've run things in the past 30 days. So you can see who's new to your system and who you might need to support. All right. Then we have the user report search. Again, a little zoomed in, but so let's say we noticed that Eric was running into failures. In another part of the report, we saw that there were that Eric's running into failures, that he was running into failures on certain reports. And we want to know exactly what that error code was. What we can do is we can just select like a date or a date range. So let's just look at all of my failures for the past year. All right, select Eric Dolly. All right, and then you can choose whether the status of it, you can choose whether it's a failure or a success. So if you want to only look at the failures, you can only choose the failures. If you only want to look at the successes, you can only choose the successes. But most of the cases, you'll want to see the failures. So you can also choose the package. So let's just, you can either use all packages or use any other package. Let's just go with the audit package. There we go. Ran very quickly. And there we go. Now we see everything that all the failures that Eric has run into for the past year. And obviously, you can narrow this down to a more narrow time frame. So if someone said, well, last week I was running into a bunch of errors, and you ask for more details, and they say, well, I don't really know. Like, stuff was just coming up. All right, so you just filtered it for the past week. You see all the errors they ran into, and then you can see what was going on, if something is going on. Yeah. So there's all my errors for the past year. And obviously, if you want to narrow it down to a more narrow date range, you can do so as well. So if you wanted to see only the past, past few months, you can do that as well. Oh, there we go. No failures in the past few months. I've been on the up and up. I guess our efforts at user adoption have been successful because I have not been running into failures. All right. So that is the user report search. Now, say you have a new user to the system. And by new user, I mean like a new user to the Thrive reports. All right. Say you don't really know how things function or how to do things. Now, one benefit of Thrive is that it has built-in help features. So that will save you time on training because like you won't need to spend time training how to use the system. Like with the default Cognos audit package reports, you'll have to know what you're doing ahead of time, and you'll need to learn how to use the system. But if you just click, if on any page you just click help, a bunch of tooltips will come up. So let's just mouse over here. Let's see. Run count. So what is run count? Some info about run count. Let's see. The report filters out runs from inside Report Studio, unsaved report, and runs from inside Workspace Advanced. So there you go. It's not counting reports from inside Report Studio. So if someone has Report Studio open and they just do a run, they just they're testing something and they run, that won't be captured by the system. Because you want to see how people are using it, not necessarily how often developers are testing what they're creating. Same with any of the other tabs. You can see the details of the tabs. Back to the user adoption dashboard. Click the button, it'll come up. You can see all the details. Last login, it tells you how it works. Orders by last login date. Use prompts above to customize the alert threshold in the day range. So this saves time with training. So even if someone else comes onto the system, you have a new admin, they'll just be able to use Thrive without an incredible amount of direction. They'll just be able to hop in, and if they have questions, the system should answer them back for them. All right. While I've still got the demo open, does anyone have any questions about the demo or something they want to see? Or just, yes?
Is the Thrive solution composed just of reports that you've developed against the out-of-the-box audit package, or have you tweaked the audit framework model in some ways?
It's just using the default audit package. Part of the reason we wanted to do that is because if an organization has been running the audit package for a while, like if we modified how we did it, then it may not be compatible with everyone. So we just wanted to use the default functionality. We are doing some more calculations like on the front end side, but as far as the back end, the model, it's just the default audit. So there's no special thing. If you're running the audit package and you're keeping an audit log, it'll just be able to connect, no problem. Well, looks like my internet went out. There we go. Good old convention internet, huh? Yeah. There we go. Like you see, like it runs, some of these load times may be slow because of the internet, but you saw right there, that loaded in an instant. It's not doing any query caching or anything like that, so like it's doing fresh pulls. And one thing I want to mention is that I mentioned advanced HTML and JavaScript, but I didn't really go into details. So these right here, these bars, they're not Cognos objects. They're HTML objects with a variable width set by JavaScript. And so what that does is it saves a lot of resources on the Cognos end. So like that's why this is able to run in 3 seconds. And if this was just plain, these were just plain old Cognos objects, this report could take 40 plus seconds to run every time you switch a page, because it has to render each individual one of those bars with a query run back to the audit package. So anyway, any other questions about the demo while I have it up, or?
So
Yes.
tracking the user adoption with the different activities and assigning the thresholds.
Yes.
Like if it falls below like a default threshold, would it send or have the capability to send like an automatic notification that says, yeah, this user's dropped off their activity, by 50%?
No, it does not have that functionality right now. That is something we have considered. And as our users give us feedback, if that's something that seems to really be useful, and it sounds from talking to you, it sounds like that would be very useful. So that's definitely something we're going to consider. So if you have any feedback, that would definitely be helpful, because we're still in development of the system. So, yes.
About the option to choose failure and success, do you further categorize failures? Like, is it the server is down, or is it something else is happening?
Oh, well, as far as the failures go, what it shows you. Well, anyway, what it does shows you, so it doesn't show you it doesn't categorize it by that, but it does give you the error code. So if you can see what the error code was, you can see what could have caused the failure. But as far as categorizing things by this was caused, I had on the top level, categorizing these failures were caused by server failure, these were caused by this. No, that information is in the error code of each report. Any other questions? Yes.
Going off of that, with the errors, is there a list that tells you what the top ones are?
Oh, like the top errors that you're encountering? No, not right now. That is a very good suggestion, though. Like I said, we're still developing this, and we're still getting feedback from our clients who are using it. So we are adding features. Like some of the features of the user adoption dashboard were suggested by clients, like the upward trend and downward trend. At first, that wasn't an option, but then we were talking to our clients. They told us that that'd be something we'd like to see. So then we added it. So that's definitely something we could add. Yes.
Given that the bars are Java instead of a Cognos,
Yes.
is there ability to export to PDF or Excel for sharing?
No, you cannot export to a PDF. This just runs in HTML. The idea behind it was that you kind of have a dashboard you can explore, but no, there is no PDF options. Anytime you're using JavaScript to get advanced functionality, you run into that problem. Or you won't be able to export to PDF. Any other questions? Well, I have the demo up. All right. Oh, yes, sure.
Can you email this? Like conventional reports can be emailed from the top right-hand section?
Yeah. Can you email it? The only view that is supported is the HTML view. So you won't be able to email it, but you will just be able to see. You'll be able to see the entire system just through the HTML, but you won't be able to email it. No. Same with PDF, and obviously not export. You can't export it to Excel either.
So basically, you have to be online to render the content.
Yes.
It can't be viewed offline.
No.
Unless you take pictures, of course.
Yeah.
Snapshots.
Take snapshots, but no, you're not able to save PDFs or send in that method.
Okay. Is there a limitation with the?
That's just a limitation of using JavaScript. So that was kind of the trade-off. So we could either use the default Cognos charts and objects and have the report take 40 seconds to load on a small system and 6 minutes to load on a big system, or we can make it more efficient just for data exploration. So that was kind of the trade-off, and we decided to go towards quicker use and more snappiness, so just so you can see what's happening. But a downside of that is, no, you're not able to save the PDF and do those other export options.
Does this work on a mobile platform?
No, this is just desktop. support. Any other questions before we move on? Okay, so we've got 3 minutes left, so I'm just going to go real quick about the quickly through the install process.
We have more than that. We're going to 2.
Oh, we're going to 2. All right, I won't go quickly through the install process. Okay, so the install process, it's very easy. Basically what happens is we'll just provide a Cognos deployment package, or honestly every time we'll just end up installing it ourselves for you, but it takes less than an hour. So we create a deployment package which contains all the reports and all the information that's needed. The deployment package maintains the links and the drill-throughs between the reports, so you don't need to do any manual linking or anything. You just specify where you want the reports to be deployed, and then all the links between the reports will be maintained in that method. You do need to specify where your audit package is, but that's because that will be different for every system. But that's just a normal part of deploying a package. And then once installed, the final step is there is a report named the PM2 object library with the server URL. Because what the report does is you saw those like pop-up windows, right? So what it does is it constructs the URL and then passes it through JavaScript to bring up that window. So all you need to do is we have the JavaScript code written. There's just like a variable named like insert server URL here. You can just get that information by looking at any report information. You just paste that there, and then since it's in the object library, all the other reports are pointing to that one through layout reference objects. So then that just populates through everything else. Same as if anything ever updates, like maybe Cognos updates and changes a little thing about how they do URL references. We just need to do that update on that one file, that one line, and it would work on all the reports. You don't have to maintain every report when something breaks like that for the JavaScript. So here are some key users we think we've identified. Organizations who need to be able to view a monthly and a yearly history of Cognos. Organizations need to keep track of users, how users are utilizing their environment, so you can see how things are going. Organizations who need to know which users are utilizing Cognos the most. So see who's really using your system, and see what they might need, so you can support them even further. Identify inactive users. Identify users that aren't using the system at all, or users that have dropped off the face of the earth in your system. So maybe a few months ago they were using stuff like crazy, and now they're not. See what's going on. View trends in data. View trends in usage. So that's like the user adoption dashboard, that trend chart. So like you can see how users are trending up, or they're trending down, or what new users are in the system. And overall, if you need to quantify statistics on usage, you just need to be able to see some numbers of how your system is being used. So here are the major key users we identified. Organizations looking to migrate from Cognos 10 to Cognos Analytics. So as I mentioned earlier, April of next year, support's going away for Cognos 10. So one important thing is to monitor the user adoption of users as you go from that 10 environment to that 11 environment. It's because the system is a little different, and some users may need some time to adapt. All right. So like using Thrive, you will be able to keep track of that. Also, perhaps you migrate a report, and at first it's working, but then at some point it stops working. Maybe it goes to R20. Release 20 comes out of Cognos 11, and all of a sudden that report stops working. You'll be able to see in this new environment like what things are working and what things are not. That also goes for organizations looking to moving to the cloud. All right. I know Ryan during the keynote said that a lot of the new clients that they have, you don't have to talk them into the cloud. You have to talk them out of the cloud. So like a lot of organizations are looking at cloud. So if you want to move from a local deployment to a cloud deployment, you want to keep track of how that transition is going. So you want to see how the users are using the new system. So same with moving from 10 to 11, moving to the cloud, you want to keep track of movement between the two systems and how people are using it. And overall, any organization using Cognos who wants to keep better track of their environment. If you aren't keeping good track of your environment, or you've ever wanted to know better what's going on, then I think Thrive could be a potentially very useful tool for you. Yes. Oh, certainly.
During a typical upgrade,
Yes.
is the audit data maintained so that you don't lose history?
Yeah, that is a good question. I do believe so.
You can back it up. I mean, you
Yeah.
can back up the audit logs.
It
Yeah.
shouldn't get away.
Shouldn't get rid. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So in that case, no, you should keep your audit data during the upgrade.
One question.
Oh, sure.
So, I may have missed it, but is there a way to pivot by report? So, for example, we have a dashboard,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to collect statistics about which users logged on to that particular dashboard.
Oh, yes. Yeah, and any report you can click on, you can see who the users have been. And that also shows you how many runs they've had and their failure percentage, individual failure percentage. So,
Again, I may have missed, but is there like some bar chart or something which is a functionality if like there was numeric information about the usage, but can I make a bar chart out of that? Because since I cannot export the data.
yeah. No, the report, it just displays you the usage numbers.
So, okay. Yeah, because we have current reporting out of the audit package,
Mm-hmm.
which displays numbers as well as the bar chart. So I was just thinking in parallel.
In parallel to
If
that.
we were to use this functionality, we should get at least what we want, what we have from our existing setup for the audit package.
That is a good point, and that could be a future feature implementation.
Yes.
Yes.
I can't remember exactly, but I think that there are different logging levels that you need to set through Cognos administration to determine the amount of detail that's tracked in the log.
Yes.
And so I wonder, do you have to set to support the reports that you have here? Do you have to set that level?
When we were setting up the development,
Higher
than like the default. Just set all the defaults. No, just the
And
default
then
should work.
Using that, we're able to get all the information.
Like we just when we were setting up the development environment of this, we just set all the defaults, and then using that we were able to get all the information we needed. No extra customization. Any other questions? Yes.
Is there a way to flag, I mean, we have users who are authors who can view as well as develop reports.
Mm-hmm.
Then are users who are just consumers. They cannot edit the reports.
Mhm.
Is there a way to flag between the two? The ones having read access and the ones who can read and write?
Who have read access and who have read and write access?
Yeah. So we call them authors and consumers.
Okay. No, the report just treats every user equally as far as looking at their usage. It does filter out a lot of the runs that a report author might have. That's the unsaved report. Because otherwise, if you just look at the number of runs without filtering out that information in that run, then you may see way bigger numbers than are realistic. Because every time you're developing, if you run something 100 times, you see 100.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you should not be in report studio and
Yeah.
continuously testing that. You should be actually viewing the output of that report.
Yeah, yeah. So that's why we filter out that from the usage statistics.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. So in summary, with Thrive, you can see the big picture of what's happening in your environment. And if you need more detail, you can just click on any user report user report or package and see more details about it, and then keep drilling from there. Monitor users and their history in detail. You can search using the user report search and see all of the runs and all of the errors they've run into. You can see how your system is being used overall. You can identify usage trends. So if a user is trending up or trending down, you'll be able to identify that. You can stay compliant with licensing. You can see how many users are using your system. So if you maybe don't have enough licenses, you can procure some more. You can track errors. Find the underperforming users in your system, and also find the users who are using your system a lot. You can troubleshoot problems for users. So if someone ran a bunch of problems last week, you can filter to the past week and see all the runs they've had, all the areas they've encountered. And you can develop a thriving user community and maximize the return on your investment in Cognos.
One more.
Certainly.
So are you thinking of setting up some triggers in the system? So for example, if somebody is not monitoring the system on a day-to-day
Mhm.
basis, so you want some triggers to set up, like if there's a yellow flag or red flag.
To send an email.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's actually one of the features we've talked about in development. We just haven't reached that point yet.
Oh, sorry.
But like that's
Hitting on the future.
yeah, that's fine. No, that's one of the features like from early on we talked about implementing, but we wanted to implement a lot of the other features first. But that's definitely like because you saw that was an area that could be improved, and like so did we. So like that's something we're working towards. All right. So how do you want? So you're interested, perhaps? How do you get it? You talk to Kevin Emanuel. All right. I'm the developer. I'm not the sales guy, but yeah. Talk to Kevin Emanuel. He's the director of software solutions. He's here today. So also these slides will be provided after the conference in an email. So you'll be able to get this information there as well. Also some links. I just included this for afterwards when the slides are handed out. The Thrive website on our PM Square website if you want to see some more information, and the Thrive IBM solution page if you are interested in seeing the IBM information behind this software solution. All right. Any other questions or something you'd like to see or anything in general? All right. What do you think? Looks interesting or? Yeah. Yeah. The idea is we just have like one tool where you can see all that information. Yes.
So a different perspective on the tool.
Yes.
On how we use our tool is it's not necessarily to monitor, if they're having problems with it,
Mhm.
but we can identify super users.
Yeah.
So we have a dashboard with a lot of drill throughs, so there are a lot of different reports. And we want to identify who's using which reports so that we can identify super users so that their peers can reach out to them for advice on how
Okay.
they're using it, why they're using it. So it's something that we would publish. So hence the reason why we're talking about a lot of these graphics and,
Yeah.
and exporting it out, because this is something we would report out to them. So just wanted to kind of throw out another perspective, just wondering, do other organizations, would they use that in the same way?
To report to see who like the super users were?
Yeah, so end users, so they can identify themselves who's using.
Who's using the system the most?
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, that's
So think about a sales organization.
yeah.
And you've got regional directors, you've got your sales reps or whatever, and they're looking at, they're using this dashboard. They've got all these different ways of looking at their data, but maybe they're not familiar with certain reports.
Yeah.
This kind of speaks to adoption also of
Mm-hmm.
the tool. Wondering if other organizations might do that as well. Have you heard that?
That's something they might be interested in, but as far as like requests for that sort of thing, we haven't gotten a lot of feature requests for that. As it is right now, you are able to tell like who is running the most reports. In that user adoption dashboard where it shows the trend, it also shows who has the most reports in the past 30 days. So it'll list them out that way, so you'll be able to see the top. But there, as we mentioned earlier, there is no like export feature for that. If you want to export that, you may have to just take a screen cap. So. All right, any other questions or? All right. Thank you. Mm-hmm.